Hello everybody, thanks for joining another GreenRock installation presentation. Thanks for taking the time being with us today. I hope you can hear me properly. Maybe you can give me just a quick feedback on the chat if everything is in check in terms of the audio. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for that. So hello everybody. Well, it's the same topic here. You can address questions in the chat functionality. I will address those questions at the end of each chapter. And I'm very happy that you found the time to join us today. My name is Thomas Kraus. I'm Managing Director of BlueSky Energy. And today we will talk about installing saltwater batteries on its own and also installing GreenRock systems. So we will cover both today. The installation per se is rather simple, so it's not a rocket science. But nevertheless, I think we should address the main questions and main topics here because that will make your life much easier. So in general, we have on the one hand side the stacks, which you can see on the left hand side, and that comes with our GreenRock combiner box. And on the other hand side, we've got GreenRock complete systems. Those systems are, of course, the batteries, the battery inverter, pre-wired, the energy management system, and the whole of it. So we'll first of all address the GreenRock stacks only installations with battery inverters to your liking. And the second part of that presentation, we will talk a little bit more about installing complete GreenRock systems. So the GreenRock batteries on its own, as you know, are available on 48 volt and 24 volt versions in general. That's the main ones we are selling. And the installation is per se the same procedure. Of course, the battery settings are different for the 24 volt version compared to the 48 volt version. That is for clear. So we are recommending to do the installation with our GreenRock combiner box. What is our GreenRock combiner box? On the one hand side, it's a DC distribution. So basically doing the consolidation of the whole DC wiring from the batteries, consolidating those wires then towards your inverter. Included is, in terms of security, the fuses. So the fuses are for each battery in case there would be an issue. The fuse is helping and securing our system. What's also included is our BMS, our battery monitoring system. It's tracking temperature, battery charge, load profile, and distribution of the batteries, ensuring that the battery system you are deploying and entertaining, or your customer is entertaining, is working according to specifications. We have also then separately the handling of the batteries, which is addressed here because our batteries are heavy, rather heavy, with 440 kilowatts. So that is addressed as well over here. So starting off with our GreenRock combiner box, you have got your batteries, and we have got the GreenRock combiner box. So what's in there? There is the combiner box, which is the box over here. Then we have got a router, that is a standard router. Then we have got the patch cables. We have got a temperature sensor, which is over there. We have got the fuses and a couple of screws, which are helping you to mount the system. So the goal is basically it's everything in there, so you do not have to go out there to your local store or whatever to get some more material. Once you've got that combiner box and the batteries, you should be able to install those things to your inverter, which you choose to use for that. So the installation first step is that we are unscrewing the cover of the combiner box, and then we are seeing the electronics in there, and there we are doing the main installations. Of course, when you do that, make sure that the inverters are switched off, that the AC breakers are open, And of course, there should be no voltage in the system, but that should be common sense. So the first part of the installation is that we are wiring up the batteries onto the combiner box. So we are taking the plus cable of the batteries and are mounting those onto the breakers over here in the combiner box. And we are doing the same then also on the minus side of the battery towards the minus side of the combiner box, and do that as well over here. So the first part is basically wiring up from the batteries to the combiner box, and the combiner box can fit up to 12 stacks. If you have got bigger systems, then it would be 2 combiner boxes or 3 or whatever. So next part is, once the batteries are wired, we are then wiring up the connection to your inverter. So when we have got a one-phase system, as illustrated on the left-hand side, we are then connecting to your battery cables on the plus and on the minus side. And what we recommend is basically that you also mark your batteries once you do the first step of connecting your batteries. Mark your batteries, that you know which battery stack you connected on which breaker. On a 3-phase system, on the other hand side, of course, we have got then 3 cables on the plus side and 3 cables on the minus side, which are mounted onto the combiner box. We are recommending then that the inverter cable should be torqued with 9 Nm towards the connections, that the whole thing is tight and secure, because if the connections are loose, we are losing energy, and the effectiveness of your storage system goes down. So first step was the batteries. Second one, we are connecting then the combiner box to your inverter. So the next part, what we are doing is we are connecting the delivered temperature sensor onto the combiner box. So temperature sensor is included in the package. We are mounting it on here on the right-hand side of the combiner box, and then we are putting the sensor somewhere outside of your batteries. So we are basically then obtaining the temperature which is in the room or near the battery system. So you can attach it on the left or right or next to your batteries. Of course, it shouldn't be squeezed and stuff like that, but that should be common sense. And then you put that there, and then we've got also the temperature information from the temperature sensors. The next part is, because the combiner box is working offline, we have got a memory storage on the combiner box, but the storage space is limited. So the next step would then be to connect the router to the WLAN port, what you have, and then connect the router to the system. So basically hooking it up that we are can get the data from the system. In case you have got a purely offline system and there is no WLAN or internet available, please let us know. Then we would probably ship a system with more internal storage and memory, that we can then have a manual extraction of the data. And so the next part is then that the router is pre-configured, so you don't have to do any changes on the router, and you connect it over here to the combiner box. That there is a link over here with the LAN cable as well. And the last part then is you're putting in the fuses into the combiner box, basically to make that properly, and the whole thing is fitted in there. Of course, there are different fuses if there is 24 volts or 48 volts for sure. So therefore, always let us know if it's a 24 volt or 48 volt installation that we can deliver and supply the correct fuses to you. And that is then when everything is up and running, that is the data, what we are seeing then from the storage system. Over here, that's a simple curve. You can see the current, which is the orange one. You can see the amp hours, which is the green one over here. And we are seeing the state of charge. Because the state of charge of a battery is dependent on, of course, the current and the voltage. It's dependent on how old the battery is. It's dependent on the room temperature. And we are getting all that data and are having with our algorithm an accurate state of charge. And that is what we are seeing over here. That's the SOC curve. And of course, the whole system is then maintained. And I deliberately chose a system where there is a problem. On the left-hand side, we are seeing the amp hours, which are charged and discharged. We are seeing the energy, which is charged and discharged. And then we are seeing the energy distribution in percent. And what we are seeing here, there's stack 1, stack 2, stack 3, and stack 10 has got a problem. And stack 9 looks funny as well. So that is something which is then able that we can monitor the performance of the battery system deployed. And if there is an issue, we are getting alerts. In this case, we would get an alert that there is stack 10 is not functioning properly because stack 10 is not getting any charge or discharge. So there might be a connection problem. Maybe it's other problem. But we will get an alert, and we would have got the opportunity then to inform you and say, look, we've got a funny situation here. Let's proactively look into that matter and, telling the customer and working with the customer to get that fixed. Our goal here is that we are ahead of the game, not getting contacted through you from the customer that there's a problem. We want to see that first and have an alert system in place. If something is not working properly, then we are getting the information then onto you as a partner of ours. And topics could be if the temperature is getting out of range, if a certain battery is not working properly and is getting no charge or discharge, if we have got a funny mismatch between charging or discharging, like stack 9 is showing a funny situation that is getting a lot of charge and has got a very little discharge, which is funny. All those topics we can see, and that is helping us being professional towards your end customer and being ahead of the game. That's part of that GREENROCK combiner box and battery monitoring system. That was a quick run through how to install batteries on its own with your battery inverter to your liking. Of course, we have got an installation manual available, which you can download from our service portal, or we can send you per email. It's a PDF document. As mentioned, the installation is not rocket science. Of course, especially for first installations, we always offer reach out to us, to make an appointment with our engineering and service team that we can help and support you for the first installations. But I think once you get the hang of it, it should be an easy task to get your batteries, your GREENROCK batteries installed to your inverter. So far, so good. That was the first part, installing batteries on its own. And then I will rush into the next part, which is then the installation of GREENROCK complete systems. Are there any open topics in respect to battery standalone installations? If yes, please come out and chat with me and let me know. Otherwise, we will go ahead and install now a complete system. So the complete system is on the right-hand side. You can see only the basics, which is always on the bottom. We have got the batteries, and on top we have got the electronics. And that's how it looks like if it's then finally assembled with the covers. Before we install a battery system, please make sure that the local room requirements do comply to certain standards. So we always recommend installing the system next to a wall on the floor. Temperature range, as you all know, -5 degrees centigrade to 50 degrees centigrade. Humidity should be 95% non-condensing. And there should be a natural air exchange, which should be 0.5 cubic meters per hour, which translates basically if you have got a room which has got either a window or a door inside. The window doesn't need to be open, the door doesn't need to be open either, but as long as that is the case, there is a natural air circulation and we are on the good and safe side. As we have got batteries which each has got 140 kilograms, we should ensure that the flooring where we are going to deploy those batteries is complying to a certain load capacity. And it should be a level, flat and dry environment. But that also holds true, of course, if you are installing batteries on its own. Your GREENROCK system will be delivered with a Euro pellet, which is an exchange pellet, a standardized topic. Once you receive it, please check first of all in respect to damages to the product. Could be that shipping caused some damages. If there would be a case, please ensure to make pictures that we can settle that with the shipping company. When you store it before installation, make sure that the system is house protected from sun and water. So don't leave it standing outside somewhere and exposed to the weather. Always try to have it stored internally within safe conditions. Okay. So the next part is one stack has got 140 kilograms, and we have got one situation. What we do not like is that the tilt is too much. So please watch out that the tilt over here, where how much you bend the batteries, it shouldn't be more than 45 degrees. Also watch out, please, that the wires which are on the battery, they shouldn't be jammed. So always place the batteries in a way that the wires are free and not jammed to another battery or to the wall. And if you are going to lift the batteries up somewhere, always use two persons because one is too heavy. Use your protection gloves and safety shoes once you're going to carry and deploy the batteries. And one topic is just a recommendation, you are aware of that, is once you would transport it around, and also if you transport it over staircases, make sure you've got some device like that. I lost the English name, that you can use it easily over stairs and make your life easier for carrying it around. So once we have got everything in place, let's start to install the GREENROCK system. Please, first of all, put the batteries into place accordingly. And then as a second step, put the bottom cover as shown on the picture onto the floor. And once the bottom flooring is done, you can then also mount the top of each battery over here, and the flooring has got certain frames which ensures that once the flooring is in the right place, then it's easy for you that the whole thing is fitting properly. Once the bottom is done, there comes the next cover on top of it, which is then the basis for the electronics, which comes over here. And on the top of that cover comes then the mechanical frame of the electronics. Of course, when you are getting the system deployed, the electronics are in there. You put the electronics up there, so that would be a single-phase solution. That would be a three-phase solution with 2 frames up there, and over there then comes then the top cover of the system. And the final part then is once the deployment has been done and the installation has been done, you put on the covers onto the GreenRock system. The whole thing is nicely closed. As we have got a rather heavy system, we are strongly recommending and also delivering our protection, tilt protection with our system. So basically that is a protection which is then mounted to the wall on the upper frame, preventing that the system can topple over or tilt, and ensuring that nobody can get hurt in that case. We have got also a special YouTube video available that shows the setup of those steps which I just outlined, and you can watch that on YouTube easily and help you if there would be any questions accordingly. So there is a step-by-step video available which should ease the opportunity for you to install those batteries and covers correctly. So having those steps done, let's have a closer look into the overall system. The system consists of the inverter. Mainly it will be, from a GreenRock standardized system, will be a Victron inverter. There comes the GreenRock EMS inside, which sits here on the left-hand side. We have got the GreenRock controller, which is over there. And then we've got our GreenRock combiner board, which we already addressed at the beginning. Of course, it's also part of a complete system, which is sitting there in the middle with the cover on top of it. And then we've got the connection terminals, which are on the right-hand side of the system. So that's the electronics setup. In this case, it's a one-phase system, and if it's a three-phase system, the setup is the same. The only difference is basically that we will have 3 inverters instead of 1 inverter. Okay. So those are now the different steps which need to be carried out in order to prepare the electronics of the GreenRock Complete systems to get it installed. The first is battery to electronics cabling. That is basically what we've done already in our presentation at the beginning of the combiner box. So we are wiring up each battery to our combiner box. Second step, we already did that as well. We are installing the temperature sensor. Then there comes the earth and ground cabling. Then we have got, as a next step, the DC connection inverter to electronics. Then we are connecting basically the AC connection inverter to electronics. Then the 6th step is the Vbus connection inverter to electronics. And the last step is basically then the connection to the internal grid. And there is one question, and of course we will provide the links to the YouTube videos afterwards that you can have a look at them, and of course you're getting also that presentation afterwards. Okay, so first of all, let's making sure that we are doing the cabling right. So those cables are the connection cables which go at the hole over there and is then basically connected to the batteries. So that's basically where the whole cables are placed in order they are not getting squeezed. It's the area over there where the cables to the electronics are drawn from the batteries to the electronics. Then we've got the GreenRock temperature sensor, which is again placed either on top or next to the batteries. We did that already. Then we do the ground connect. So the cables are coming from the inverters into the electronics cabinet, and they are then connected, as you can see over there, with our ground connectors in the cabinet. That's basically the connection area on the right-hand side of the GreenRock. Then we're doing the connection, DC connection from the inverter to the electronic connection. We did that also already. Please, again, making sure that we have got a certain torque pressure, that the whole thing is working properly. In this case, we're doing first the black ones, the negative ones, and then we are doing the red ones, the positive ones. And then we are doing the AC cabling from the inverter to the connection. Watch for the AC in-out, and there comes the cable then over here connected to the system. So that's the AC connection from the inverter to the system. And then we are doing the Vbus communication between the inverter and the connector. So we are using then the wires from the battery inverter Victron, and they are then connected towards our connection in the GreenRock system, as it's shown over here or over there. Of course, if we have got 3, then we have got 3 of those Vbus communications. If it's a single phase system, of course, then we've got a single connection. And then we've got the final step. We are connecting the battery system to your local grid. First of all, ensure that the breakers are open, of course. Ensure that the inverter is switched off. And of course, there should be no energy in there. And then connect the external cable to push-in connector. So those are areas we are then connecting the PE. Over here, we are connecting the grid cables to our GreenRock system. And of course, when there are 3 cables from 3 inverters, as a 3-phase system, then of course we have also to mount all 3 cables, which are to be used over here to the grid connection. So over there we had 1 over here, single phase, and 3 over here with the PE connection when there's a 3-phase system. And also here there's a video available. I will also send out the link afterwards to you, that you can also follow through all those steps on our YouTube video to familiarize yourself with the installation, or when you are upon the installation, that you can have a look at it and ensure that you can refresh a little bit your knowledge. Next part is then, well, basically what we have done now is we connected the batteries to our GreenRock system, and then we connected our GreenRock system to the local grid and to the inverter. So everything is set up from that end. And then there comes the connection of the energy meter, which is delivered with the system, to our energy management system. While we are doing that, of course, we are needing that information from the local grid, that we are understanding. Is there now consumption? Is there a PV surplus? And all those matters. And therefore, we are wiring up the energy metering cables on the bus 1 over here, that we are getting that information into our energy management system. Over here, we have got then the next step, which is again the setup of the router. We are connecting our router to the local network, which is already in the house. Then we are connect the EMS via LAN to the router. Further, we are connecting with the HRJ45, which is over here in 3 for other devices. For example, if there is other information which we need to obtain over here, for example, e-charging, stuff like that. We connect the GREENROCK controller to the router, which is number 4 over here. And then we connect the GREENROCK BMS to the router. That's basically the step which we already done at the beginning. So basically the connection from our GREENROCK combiner box, all the information like SOC, temperature, and those things are then connected to the router that we can obtain that information online. The router which is delivered is pre-configured, so you don't have to fumble around with that router. And the password of the connection is always on the back of the router written in there, in case you need that. Once that is hooked up, you can then access the EMS data. We have got the link, which is https://livemygreenrock.eu. You type that into your internet provider, and off you go. Then you are logging into the system with the key and the serial number provided, and then you can see the overall system. That is now an example of the EMS screen, which you can then access over the internet. We are also having now a solution where you can access the EMS then via mobile phone app or cell phone app. And that EMS is now available in English, in Dutch, in French, and in Spanish so far. That is now the German version, which makes my life easier. And what we can see then is we can see the information, what kind of energy is coming from the solar or photovoltaic system, how much energy is coming or is obtained from the grid. In this case, we are putting energy back into the grid. How much energy is coming from the battery. In this case, the battery is supplying energy into the system. The photovoltaic is providing energy into the system. And then there is the local grid consumption, where you can see how much energy is consumed. And of course, our EMS has certain further information. For example, there would be the wireless sockets. In this case, it's not activated, it's not green. We have got the e-charging. If there is energy going into the e-charging, would be displayed over there. There is the heat pump, if that is some consumption from the heat pump, or there's the warm water area over there. So that's basically giving you as an installer or also your end customer a complete overview what is happening with my solar photovoltaic, with my consumption, with the grid, with the storage, and other topics. So that's also what we perceive a valuable topic, because the end customer is having control of its system, and it's very much liked because storage systems can be a very cost-intensive investment for end customers, and therefore they are happy that they can see then the result and be able to obtain that information. Even if they are in the office, they can see what's happening back home with their overall energy system. To that question, when we install several systems at different locations, is there an easy way to see multiple systems? Yes. You as a partner have got a special partner login, and in that partner login, you are seeing all your installed systems at a glance, that you can see all your installations, and you are getting all that information that in one portal. So you don't have to log in, log out for each several installations. So you've got a consolidated overview of all your installations and can then dig into all of those installations. You as a partner, of course, the end customer, they are seeing only their system. Okay. In general, the topic with EMS will then be covered in more detail in one of our future webinars. This is just the final step here over that we are showing that the GreenRock is then finally installed, and that's the final step basically. Also for GreenRock systems, we have got GreenRock Home installation operation manuals. That is available in German and soon will be available in English, French, and Dutch. We have got also the installation video, which can be seen in our YouTube channel. Also for the GreenRock home system deployment, once you have got an installation scheduled, please let us know in advance. Make an appointment with our engineering team that we are ensured that we are available for you at the time of the installation. And we are going to support you where we can in respect to online support, telephone, whatever is needed to ensure that the first installation is going to be a smooth one. And if there are open topics, we can solve them on the spot, that you can basically get that done and execute it at once. But it would be important for us, please, that you let us know in advance. Say, I'm planning to have that installation on next Thursday, 3 p.m. And then one of our engineers will be available, stand by, and support you with that installations in case you would need any further assistance or help. So far, so good. As you see, installation of GreenRock batteries or GreenRock systems is not rocket science. There are a couple of steps involved, but it's rather easy. And it's tended to be easy because we try to do as much groundwork upfront before we ship it out to you to make your life as an installer as easy as possible. So basically that is it, how to install those systems. And if you have got any questions in respect to installations, it would be a good time now to reach out to me via chat that I can address those questions. But of course, we are also available for you in Insight afterwards as well if there come some questions up. I've got one question here. How does the remote monitoring work? Is there a kind of alarm system or only a login? Okay, the remote monitoring system has got alert functionality. So meaning when we have got one installation consisting of 5 batteries, and we are seeing that the energy distribution, for example, is deviating by more than 10%. So meaning one stack is getting more or less energy than others, we are getting an alert. And that alert is basically an email to our engineers. Those engineers will have a look at it and will reach out to you if they think it's something which you as a partner should know. And we would discuss with you how to address that. The same holds, of course, true if the temperature is getting out of range. If we are seeing very hot temperatures, we will get alerts. And of course, we are also seeing alerts if the round trip efficiency of the system is not working properly. If we are pumping in 10 kilowatt hours and always get out 5 kilowatt hours, then there is something wrong with the setup of the system or in the system itself. We are getting an alert. We know which installation is the problem. And then we would reach out to you as a partner and say, look, in the installation B in somewhere is a topic which we identified. Let's discuss and work how we can mitigate those risks. And the goal is really to be proactive, that we are ahead of the game and know there's a problem before the customer is starting to notice there's a topic. Okay, so far so good. From the webinars, we did the introduction, technical overview last time. We did a little bit more technical installation topic this time. On the 7th of November, we are addressing the dimensioning of storage system. It's basically talking about how big should my storage be, considering a certain size of your PV or solar. How much should the storage be when we are going to be off-grid? How much should the storage be if we want to have emergency backup? on all those topics. And then we've got the last webinar is talking about the EMS, which I discussed very quickly. It's a very powerful tool, that EMS, and we will address that in more detail on November 21st. There's the link, how to register. And I think that is it. Yeah, we've got some more dates coming up. Just for information, we have got some training and technical training, which is a personal training. One is on October 29th in Vught. That is in the Netherlands. We have got on the October 30th in Belgium, another personal training. Over here, a link to register. And we have got a personal training over here in Austria on the November 7th. So all of you who would be interested and be happy to join us, we would be, of course, happy to see you in person. Thanks again for joining today. I think there are no more questions, so it was lovely that you found the time to take part today. Have a great afternoon, evening, and talk to you soon. Ciao, bye-bye. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.